Curtis Crane, your friends describe you as the #1 transgender doctor who's obsessed with quantum physics and who throws the most epic house parties in the best nightclub in Austin, aka your $10 million mansion. You lived in Alaska, Belgrade, Bangkok, and Swaziland, and the New York Post called you Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And I just keep wondering, who the hell is this guy?
I guess that. Yeah. I think I like the fringes of life. That's the summary.
I've never asked this question before. Like, how would you respond to the question, who are you?
Who am I? I'm me. That's the simplest. I'm just me. I'm just like someone that's interested in the fringes. You know, there's like this Gaussian distribution of the population, this bell curve. And I think that's great. And most of us, by definition, exist in the middle somewhere of the curve. But I think the real interest lies in 2 standard deviations either direction.
And you're known to be standing at the forefront or working at the forefront of the transgender movement. How would you describe what you're doing?
I'm just helping people that are suffering. And I got into it when no one was talking about it because I want to help people that are suffering. And then I opened the practice in 2012. No one was discussing pronouns or anything. And then in Trump's first term, it exploded. And it became political. I was already heavily entrenched into helping the community. And then it became political after the fact. So that was too bad because I think it really hurt a lot of the people just trying to alleviate suffering, because really everyone deserves a chance to be who they really are. And I think the left and the right should agree to that. But politics always clouds clear thinking, in my opinion.
Walk me through your professional path, because you started out studying engineering.
Yeah, it's really circuitous. I have a mechanical engineering degree from Purdue. I used to make hip implants. I went and watched a orthopedic surgery, and I thought that was really cool. So I wanted to go to medical school. I heard it was very difficult applying to medical school, and you had to take less classes that semester, but I had a full engineering curriculum. So I decided the way to limit the amount of time it took to apply, I was going to apply to 4 schools instead of the 25 that all my classmates were applying to. So I applied to 4, and I thought, if I get in, maybe I'll be a doctor. If I don't get in, then maybe I'll get a PhD in fluid dynamics. I think fluid dynamics is really cool. Mm-hmm. And then I got into 2 of the 4, went to University of Iowa, was going to go into orthopedic surgery, but I did that 2-week rotation, and I just got yelled at the whole time. So those 2 weeks were
for what?
For being me. I don't know. For not being good. I mean, I was a 3rd-year medical student, and I wasn't good at stuff. And you just get yelled at. And so I decided to base the entire rest of my career on getting yelled at for 2 weeks and not go into orthopedic surgery. But then the urologist just told a bunch of penis jokes, and I thought, well, I can do that. So I might as well be a urologist. So then I went to Dartmouth and did a full urology residency. It just felt like I wasn't done. I don't know. I can't describe the feeling. Like, my friends were graduating, getting jobs where they were getting paid $500,000, $600,000 a year. And I just thought, no, I should work 90 hours a week and make $40,000 a year, some more. Wasn't really money motivated, but just was always kind of thinking, is this it for me? Is this done? Is this what I'm supposed to do? It just didn't, I can't describe it, just didn't feel right. So I picked up.
How old were you back then?
Early 30, probably 32. By the time I finished medical school and urology residency, which was 6 years, 2 years of general, 4 years of urologic surgery. So then, you want like the 2-minute version or the 10-minute version?
No, dude, we are here for the full version, for the full story.
Okay. This was a life-changing event. It was a prank call, which
I heard about that.
Okay. Did I tell you about that?
No, I did my research.
Wow. You want me to tell that story?
Yeah, please.
Okay. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just figured it wasn't going to stop at urology. And I had this interest in transgender surgery because designing genitalia sounds pretty cool. It wasn't talked about. It was an opportunity to be creative in surgery, which surgery is typically the opposite of creativity because there's a lot of just very tried and proven ways to take out a gallbladder. And you're going to do it that way thousands of times, maybe 10,000 times, and then you're going to retire. There's just like one way to do it. But transgender surgery wasn't like that. It still isn't. It's a very creative surgery. It's a young, healthy, motivated patient population. They're very motivated patient population. And regarding, exploring the fringes, this challenges the basic biology that we claim to understand, that XY is male and XX is female, and that's the way it is. And it clearly isn't. And we should know it's not.
Why is that?
Because of the trans community. There are people that are born XY but identify as female.
So what would you say, how many biological genders are there?
Well, I believe that all life exists on a continuum. I don't think anything in life is this or that. But human consciousness thinking is a process of categorizing everything. And I think 300,000 years ago, it was, is this danger or is it not? Can I eat this or can I not? And we haven't escaped from that. I think it's just like a giant Excel spreadsheet in our brain. We're constantly categorizing things. Male, female, attractive, not attractive. Hurt me, won't hurt me. You just take everything and we're just constantly categorizing, putting in a box and making assumptions.
Yeah, I for sure, I agree. I keep saying that we are inherently racist, all of us. We are we are programmed to be afraid of other races.
Or even to just make assumptions. Like you might see a person walking down the street and immediately make assumptions about their athletic ability, their intelligence, what they're good at, what they aren't.
Sure.
And that's just the society we live in. But I think the natural world is the opposite of that. Everything is a continuum. I can't think of anything that's not a continuum. Mm-hmm. But we like things to be in these discrete subunits. But sure, it's all continuous. So getting back to the prank call,
yeah,
there were some reasons why I was interested in helping the trans community, but I was doing a general urology residency where there's no exposure to transgender surgery, and I didn't have a plan or even an awareness of how one might go about this. So it was just some far off thing in my head, kind of in the periphery, that I occasionally thought about. But then there's this one day, my 5th year of urology, 5th out of 6, and medical student applicants come in, like the whole clinical day's canceled. There's no surgeries, there's no clinic, and everyone gets dressed up in a suit, I think, except maybe us, the residents, but the med students that are interviewing for a spot. It's like, who's going to be the next future urologist coming into the program? And the med students all come, they get dressed up in suits and they're interviewing. And they interview with all the attendings, and the residents kind of entertain the med students in between interviews and tell them about the program, talk to them about how great it is, et cetera. Well, there was this one applicant. He's an African-American guy that comes in, and my co-resident was a guy named Kwabena Pobi. He's from Africa. And I remember him showing up And I was like, Quab, what do you want to do? You just moved to New Hampshire. And he looked at me and he said, are there any black people here? And I'm like, here as in New Hampshire? No, I think you might be the only one. And
in the whole state?
And he says to me, yeah, because I even went to some places where black people would hang out and I didn't see any. And I said, where do black people hang out? And he starts listing these places. And I was like, yeah, I haven't seen black people there either. So anyway, this applicant shows up and I kind of pull him aside and I said, hey man, just like wherever you go, you're going to be here for 5 or 6 years, depending on the program. Make sure socially it's a good fit for you. My friend Quab, there's definitely no Africans here. And, he kind of feels it. And so he said, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And, I'm like, maybe you care, maybe you don't. It's not a racist area of the country. I never felt that. But, if you want to be around other African Americans, may not be the place for you. So he's like thankful. And I say, where are you coming from? And he said, Detroit Receiving. And I said, oh, my friend Josh Broghammer that I haven't spoken to in 5 years. I graduated medical school with him. He went there and he said, Josh Broghammer is my chief resident. And I said, no kidding. Do you have his pager number? And he said, yeah. And I said, let's page him. And he said, okay. And I took him out of the interview. We went to the library or something. And I said, give me his pager number and page it. And the phone rings. It's Josh calling back. And I look at the applicant and I'm like, this is going to be awesome. He's like, yeah. I wish I could thank him because he changed my life. I pick up the phone and I go, hello, this is Dr. Summers from Northern Michigan Regional Hospital. Is this Dr. Broghammer? And he said, yes. And I said, yeah, we've got this really interesting case. I'd like to transfer to Detroit Receiving Hospital. Do you have a minute for me to run it by you? He said, yeah, what's going on? He said, well, there are these Siamese twins and they're joined at the foreskin. And unfortunately, they just fell apart. And the mother would like them reattached because now she's got to manage both of them. And one's crawling this way and one's crawling that way. It's just really problematic. So we were hoping we could send them down and you can reattach their foreskin. And I look at the applicant and he's looking at me and he's like, holy shit. I am definitely not coming here now. And I'm waiting. And Josh, who I haven't spoken to in 5 years, says, is this Curtis Crane? And I was like, yeah. How'd you know, Josh? And he's just like, what are you doing? I'm busy. And I was like, oh, I don't know. Maybe we could talk sometime. Just, I'm here with so-and-so. I forget his name. He said, yeah, let's talk. So point is, I end up calling him and I'm like, what are you doing after you graduate? He was graduating that year. His program was a 5-year program. And he said, oh, I'm going to go do a reconstructive urology fellowship with Hunter Wessels. And I said, what's that? And he said, you don't know what reconstructive urology is? I said, no, not particularly. And, which was crazy because, our chair of the department at that time, Dr. Burrell, was a reconstructive urologist, but I wasn't the best resident. And so he explains it to me. I said, oh, that's really cool. And he said, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't know. I probably just travel around the world and learn how to do transgender surgery. And he said, and you don't have a plan for that? And I said, no. And he said, why don't you talk to my boss, Dr. Santucci, about that? And I said, why would I talk to him? And he said, I think he'd like you. And I said, okay, but how would he help me with this? And he said, I don't know. He just really thinks outside the box and you should talk to him. So I gave him a call. He said, you should apply for my fellowship. And I said, I don't think I should do a fellowship. I'm barely getting through this. And he encouraged me to. I did. I got accepted. Then at some point, he said to me, if you want to be the best in the world at this, you should also do a plastics residency, which should be another 3 years. I said, okay. Applied to that, got in. So that one phone call got me an extra 4 years, actually 4.5 years of training on top of the 6 years, because it was reconstructive urology a year, plastics 3 years, and then a transgender surgery fellowship. And now Dr. Santucci is my employee in my practice, my fellowship director. And that's why you never miss out on an opportunity to prank an old friend, because it might change your life. And that one phone call did.
That's unreal, dude.
It's weird.
What's a wild story? I mean, the last time I pranked someone, I almost got in jail in Abu Dhabi.
I'd love to hear about it.
Well, it was dude, I think it's almost 10 years ago that we went on a family trip to Abu Dhabi, and I've had an ACL before that. You know, I was like still. I mean, I could walk, but still recovering from an ACL. And then we went to this huge, famous mall in Abu Dhabi with our whole family. I didn't expect to tell this story, and I've never told in public. And my whole family separated. Everybody went their way, and to check out different shops. It was like my mom, my stepdad, my older brother, and my younger sister, and my younger brother, and me. And after a while, I think after an hour, I bumped into my younger brother. And we were both like, "Yeah, did you find anything you fancy?" And he was like, "No." I was the same, and then we were just chilling, And then two teenage boys in a foreign country where you shouldn't do any pranks, in a very traditional, strictly religious country, just hanging around, not knowing what to do. And then, I don't know, we started watching some prank videos on Instagram, right? And then there was this one video where, have you seen the pranks where one guy goes up or down the elevator and then touches the other people's hands?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we thought, hey, that looks funny. How about we just do that, And yeah, we started doing that. I was the one I was hiding somewhere with the camera because I was, the one injured. Well, actually, it was always like I sent out my brother to do some stupid shit. I watched it. Do you have siblings?
I have an older brother.
Yeah. Okay. Then you were probably the executor, right? Or the victim.
I'd say so. Yeah. I don't know if I was a victim. I was both I think I filled both roles.
Yeah. Okay, but you know what I'm talking about. And then, the first guy, then my brother touched him, and then, he did this kind of weird erotic look, like doing something like that, right? And then the first person even laughed. It was like a younger man, I don't know, whatsoever. And we thought, that's funny. People, share the same humor over here. So we kept doing it. And then the next 2 or 3 prospects didn't react as amused as the first one. And then with the fourth one, it was I think a man in his 50s with his wife completely covered in a burqa, I think they call it, and his son maybe. And he was not only totally puzzled, he was shocked. He was angry. He didn't like it at all. My brother, that 15-year-old guy, he was like looking to him like this, and then throwing a smile. And that guy, he was like totally like his face just changed suddenly. And then my brother came up, walking towards me, and laughing his ass off. He was like, "Hey, did you see the guy?" And I was like, "Oh, dude, he's turning around. Walk away, run." Because he came up and he was furious. He was like running up the escalator, the one going downstairs.
Yeah.
And I was incapable of running. So I kept telling my brother, "Bro, run." And he was just laughing, and he didn't realize that this guy was actually coming to chase us.
Yeah.
And then he started running at us. I tried to walk away. My brother was too confused and too stupid, I guess. And then he started yelling like, "Security, security, security!"
Oh no!
And he grabbed both of us, and somehow, I guess, had realized that we not only pranked him but also recorded him.
Yeah.
And he was like one of those conservative Arabs. And he went completely fucking mental, dude. Until, actually security came, and then they took us to the security checkpoint. And at some point we were just surrounded by like dozens of security men just for this one more or less innocent prank.
Yeah.
With the Arabs, they didn't like it at all. And then we're standing there And then funnily enough, my older brother, who's a police officer, he passed by and he was like, "Hey, guys, what are you doing here at the security checkpoint?" I was like, "Yeah, we might have a little problem." And he was like, "What did you do?" And then I told him the story, and he also went fucking nuts. He was like, "How can you do that? How can you do that? You're gonna go to jail. We're in the UAE. You guys are so fucking stupid." And he was raging.
That probably didn't help.
Yeah, no, yeah, but he was in training actually back then, and he pulled out his like police officer in training card, because he didn't know what to do. He was just trying to protect us, but he was totally overwhelmed with the situation, and then he's like, I'm a police officer in Germany, trying to show his authority to somehow
the trainee.
Yeah, exactly, the trainee. And he started calling our mother like crazy. I think at the end of the night she had like 40 missed calls. She was gone with our sister, which was
That's what the police always do. They end up just calling their mom.
Yeah, she was with my sister, who was like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 or something like that at that time. And then they actually wanted to take us to the police station. It was that serious, And then my brother, they took us to the basement, I guess. And it just became more and more dubious. And as I said, we had like dozens of security men around us just for one little prank of 2 teenage boys. It was wild. And then at the end, we ended up in a super dubious office in the basement with the head of security, I guess, who looked, and I'm not joking, like Chris Tucker, like a black head of security in the UAE. And that the guy we pranked, he was just going on and on and on and on, like for hours. He told the story like, I don't know, dude, 50 times to every security man. And I really had to control myself to not laugh all the time, because it was just, he was such a character, and his accent was just making it so even funnier. He was like always, and then I realized I was being filmed. And then eventually my brother reached my mom, who kind of faked a nervous breakdown in the middle of the mall, and then the guys there, the security guys left, like in the mall, they somehow got her to that hidden office in the basement. And she instructed my sister to start crying the moment she got into it. And that was kind of like their kryptonite, I guess, the Arabs' kryptonite. And, my mother gave her best to explain the situation and apologize and all that stuff. But there were actually policemen coming in, and they were quite keen to arrest us. And, I don't know what the punishment would have been, but we might have ended up in a fucking jail in the UAE, as teenage boys. But yeah, long story short, we got out of it. So
defining life moments.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know if it really. Maybe it's changed my life trajectory, because I realized no matter what I'm gonna do, I'll always get away with it.
Nice. It's a good thing to know.
Right. But yeah, circling back, where do we get off track? I'm still curious to hear why you had this passion, compassion, excitement for the trans philosophy movement in the first place. Because you were like a guy in your 30s,
mm-hmm.
and as I can tell, you're not a trans person yourself. Like, where did it come from?
Well, I think a 50,000-foot view of society is that we want to be accepted for who we are. Even introverts, people that isolate themselves, there's just a basic need to be accepted by society. And we have all had times in our life where we don't feel accepted socially, there's times we don't feel good enough. And I think that's awful. And then I think I'm a very empathetic person. Imagine realizing you are someone that half of society won't accept. I think it's incredibly damaging.
I can somehow relate to that feeling. I grew up in Germany, and from an early age on, I felt strange in that place, in that society, and I always felt like I wasn't belonging.
Like you don't belong. It's an awful feeling.
Yeah.
Now, whatever you and I have felt about not being accepted, imagine that being 1,000-fold or 1,000,000-fold, because your outward appearance doesn't match your gender identity. Patients have described to me, feeling like every time they go to the grocery store, they feel like they're lying about who they are because they look a certain way, but their identity is something else. Their gender identity is something else. And so I just thought that was a really important problem that needed to be addressed that no one was talking about in my medical training at that time in my life. And it's just about acceptance. And add to that what I had already said about it's 0.3% of the population. That's definitely more than 2 standard deviations away from the norm. So I'm interested in those parts of the universe. It challenges what we claim to understand about biology, even though there's all kinds of species on Earth that move in and out of genders. We see it in the natural world all the time. There's fish that change genders based on the temperature of the water.
Really?
There's turtles that do. It's been written about in cultures forever. Native American culture calls it 2 spirits, where there's, typically in this scenario, it's someone that appears female, but they have to hunt with the males. And it was just accepted. And it's discussed in Hinduism. A lot of the Hindu gods are both male and female. So it's prevalent, but not discussed.
Can you walk me through, because that's what I realized while doing this research about the whole trans philosophy. I come from the outside, really. I grew up in Germany. I traveled around the world for like 5 years, and now I'm settling in South Africa. However, it seems to me, and I might be wrong, but it seems to me that this whole trans discussion is nowhere as prevalent as in the US. And I'm just curious because you said you started your training when? In the 2000s?
2002 was my first year of residency.
Yeah. And you also mentioned that it's only when Trump won, when Trump got into his first presidency, that this discourse started to blow up.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious. I was trying to figure out like where and how did it really start? Because I've only heard about the political controversies. Started hearing about that in the last few years, really. So can you trace it back?
It goes back to the first Caesar. I haven't looked at this in a while, but I believe there was a slave named Spurius, and they wanted to marry, but men couldn't marry, so they castrated the slave, and that would have been the first documented sex change. And then, there's so many examples. There's examples in Greek mythology. I don't remember the details. It was like some mortal did something the gods didn't like. The gods decided the punishment was going to be to change that male to female. But then the story goes something like she then enjoyed sex like 10 times as much as she did as a male. And so then the gods thought this is a reward instead of a punishment and changed him back to male. So that could be, why is that in Greek mythology? Maybe because there was a hint of it in society 2,000 years ago or more than that. And then the first modern day sex change was around 1910 to 1920 overseas. The first in the U.S., I believe, was in the 1950s. Someone named Jorgensen, maybe. And then in where I did my fellowship in Ghent, Belgium, they've been doing really modern, high-level, high-tech, microsurgical, free flap phalloplasty, which is what I do. Gender confirmation surgeries is what they would call it now instead of sex changes. Gender confirmation surgeries since the mid-90s, maybe. But the EU, they're just not as conservative as the U.S. medical system. So it's something that is paid for by the government. It's seen as a medically necessary surgery to get people back as functioning members of society. And if you have severe gender dysphoria, if you suffer from that, then having a gender confirmation surgery will help you come back, integrate into society, and the suicide rate plummets if you have severe gender incongruence, and you then you have a very high suicide rate unless you get a surgery to confirm the gender.
You mentioned gender dysphoria. I've heard this term quite a lot by now. How would you define that?
It's an older term. It used to be gender dysphoria, but then the community said, we're not dysphoric. We're euphoric. We're happy, but our gender identity doesn't match our body. So it was changed to gender incongruence. And, it's just searching for, how do you describe this? How do you describe what is going on without creating offense? And so at this point, we're at the term gender incongruence, which is a good term. The gender is incongruent. The gender identity, how you feel in your brain, how your mind feels about who you are, is incongruent with how you physically appear.
Yeah. You mentioned the psychological aspect, and I came across some research, and I, disclaimer, don't consider myself competent enough to validate or invalidate them. But I heard about the correlation between the inflationary rise in SSRI prescriptions being correlated to the popularity of transgender surgeries.
Right.
Isabel Brown talked about it, and I think she was referencing Bobby Kennedy. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And what's your take on that?
I mean, these people have political agendas, and they want to establish any cause and effect relationship. Why don't you blame it on the increase in greenhouse gases? Blame it on anything that's increasing. Why don't you blame it on the increase in measles because we aren't vaccinating as much? That's probably causing the rise in transgenderism. There's no cause and effect relationship there. They're just saying, a real study would be looking at patients that say, I suffer from gender incongruence, and then seeing if there's any kind of time correlation to getting on SSRIs, getting off them, etc. There's just a lot of bad science.
But SSRIs are impacting brain's development. That's for sure, right?
I don't know. I don't study SSRIs. Okay. I don't know if they are or aren't. I know SSRIs are, being blamed for, a high suicide rate or something. I was listening. I can't remember the podcast it was from, but it was brilliant. And he said, it's like there's 30 million people on SSRIs and 10,000 have had a suicide. And we say, okay, SSRIs are causing suicides. You're trading the mean for the variance. You're hyper-focused on the 10,000 when there's 29,900 or 29,900,000 900,000 that are getting some kind of benefit of it. But you're going to hyper-focus on the variance and say, this is now the mean.
Yeah.
It's programmed hysteria. We're in an age of, I believe, of programmed hysteria, which is whatever cause and effect relationship we can come up with, you hear in a podcast or whatever, it's going to first make us, we should be hysterical over it.
Yeah, no, I agree with the cultural hysterica. However, I find the numbers of SSRIs nothing but shocking. Like if I pull up 30 million Americans are taking antidepressants, as you said. Response rates hover below 50%, and 4 out of 5 patients relapse within 5 years.
Yeah, I don't know. Whoever studies SSRIs should look at that.
Yeah,
yeah. I personally don't prescribe them. I'm not opposed to them. I don't know much about them. I think, say you have 30 million people on them. Sounds like 50% of people don't do well. Does that imply 50% of people do well? In which case, you just helped 15 million people. Good job.
Yeah, the question is like, what are the opportunity costs? And I see SRIs as, it's a perfect example for treating the symptoms instead of the cause, right? And there's obviously a big pharma agenda behind it,
mm-hmm.
And I found these numbers through Mindbloom, who I talked with the CEO of Mindbloom, who's like the largest psychedelic therapy provider in the US. And yes, of course, they have an agenda as well.
Oh.
However, the numbers of
Mindbloom, is that treating with ketamine?
Yeah, with ketamine.
Okay, so what's the difference? If you say, let's treat the cause and not the symptom, is ketamine treating the cause or the symptom? Is SRI treating the cause or the symptom? You're both giving a pharmacologic to change a mood.
Yeah, and I would advocate for psychedelics rather treating the roots instead of the symptoms.
But how do you know psychedelics are actually treating the cause? What if the cause is dealing with a childhood trauma or a loss of a loved one or just not having motivation in life? Is ketamine or psychedelics going to help you improve your motivation? Maybe, maybe not. You don't know.
As far as I know, the numbers are quite significant on that. Well,
the people doing the studies probably have a financial say in it.
Sure, yeah, sure. Maybe to come back to our initial theme, because I didn't plan to go there at all. I just like to utilize the opportunity of going into the trans philosophy with you. And I was wondering, like, what do you respond to the people accusing you of playing God?
I would love to be God. who that'd be awesome. Like you could just think things and they happen, or I don't know, part the sea. I would, if you were sitting here and you said, "Are you playing God?" I would say, "Explain that position." I'm a reconstructive surgeon, the same way a reconstructive surgeon would repair a cleft lip and palate. So I would just need to understand: are all reconstructive surgeons God? Some of them would say yes. I don't feel like a God.
I mean, like, you change people's lives on one of the most fundamental levels.
Sure.
Right.
So would a reconstructive surgeon repairing a cleft lip and palate, like I'm changing something that's largely in people's pants, nowhere near the effect of changing a cleft lip and palate on someone's face. Every time they greet someone, they're looking at their face. So by that rationale, would a plastic surgeon repairing cleft lip and palate be an even bigger deity than me? Because you would have to take off someone's pants to even see what I'm doing.
That's an interesting way of seeing it, for sure.
I think it's a good fucking question.
And
are all surgeons God?
Also, I think what also a very good fucking question is, and I keep wondering about that, Can you walk me through, like, how do you create a penis?
Well, as I'm a god, I think it, and then it is. No, it's great. You need tissue, and so we commonly use the forearm or the thigh, and we take out a square of tissue. We roll up a urethra. We wrap the skin around the other direction, so that there's skin over the phallus. We create a glans, which is like the corona or the rim around the tip. We roll it up, flip it under, put a skin graft behind. It's a microsurgical procedure where we cut in the case of the forearm, radial forearm phalloplasty, we cut the nerve, artery, and vein from the forearm, move it down to the groin, and then there's a recipient nerve, artery, and vein, multiple veins, usually multiple nerves too, that we sew together under an operating microscope so that the phallus gets sensation and blood supply. You reroute the urethra below so it goes from the native female position up to the phallus, right under the pubic bone. Excuse me. You do that by tubularizing the labia minora. You make a scrotum out of the labia majora. You do a vaginectomy. And my team here in Austin, Texas, also I have a practice in San Francisco and a practice in Boulder, Colorado. We can do all that in 6 or 7 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's kind of godlike.
I guess we're gods. That's awesome. We should all get a pay raise.
And how does it differ to creating a vagina?
Creating a vagina, you disassemble the phallus. You get rid of the parts you don't need anymore, such as the erectile tissue, which is really it. The rest you use the skin of the phallus to create the vagina. You'd use the head of the phallus to create the clitoris. You know, there's a mucosa in between the labia minora, and that's just splayed open urethra. So you can splay open the urethra, fillet it open, cut it open, and then that becomes the mucosa between the labia minora. So in plastic surgery, there's a basic principle: create like parts from like parts. Use embryologically equivalent parts, the analogous anatomy, to recreate what you're doing. So if you picture sitting at someone's feet, they're laying down, and you're looking right up, and this is say it's a male with an erection, and you're looking right up between the legs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is genitourinary embryology in a minute and a half. If you now shrink the phallus down so that it bisects the scrotum, it comes down in between, in the scrotum. That scrotum becomes the labia majora in the female. Now, shrink the head of the phallus down to the size of clitoris and then cut all the way down through the urethra, only through the anterior wall of the urethra, but leave the posterior wall, leave the back wall, and then fillet it open. Then that's female anatomy. The sides, the skin of the phallus that you've just filleted open becomes the labia minora, and the mucosa between the labia minora is the urethra. So that's how male anatomy and female anatomy embryologically are analogous. So when you create a vaginoplasty, you just redo that.
Fascinating.
It's cool.
Fascinating. I mean, like, there are so many terms I've never heard of, but
Yeah.
the way you explained it was kind of understandable.
Yeah, bring it down, fillet it
for
open.
sure.
Yeah, and that's it. That's how
fine.
men and women are the same. Women are walking around, they're like hypospadiac men that sit to pee.
What was the age of the earliest patient you've helped transitioning?
So this is really controversial, and I'm glad you brought it up because it's a mess right now. And even all my friends that are in support of what I do, they all say, you know, there's no way you should do this before the age of 19. Well, let's start from a 50,000-foot view of society. The government creates laws. The laws are meant to keep us safe, and the laws are equal. It doesn't matter who you are. even if you're a world-renowned F1 driver, F1 race car driver, you're supposed to drive 65 miles an hour. Because of your training, you could probably go way faster than that. But you can get a ticket if you're going 75 or 80. It's supposed to be 65. Medicine, so there's just laws for everyone. Medicine, we're always taught, go see the patient. Just because you've got 100 people coming in with chest pain, you're not going to treat them all the same. What if there's a obese, diabetic, 65-year-old that was shoveling snow in the driveway and they get chest pain? You're not going to treat them the same as a 10-year-old with chest pain. Go and see the patient. It's individualized. So those are the opposite. One is laws for everyone. One is manage everyone differently, unique to them. The problem is when you mix the two, in my opinion, and you say, okay, no one under 19, we're going to protect the kids. No one under 19 could have any transgender surgery ever, no matter what is the law. Okay. Well, I'll tell you a story about the youngest patient that I did a chest emasculizing surgery on. Patient was 13, had enormous breasts for a 13-year-old. And the story goes like this. I was in San Francisco and the patients and both parents come to me and they said at age 2, we knew that something was different. Parents will tell you this. You can somewhat know the gender of a toddler based on how they play. Boys and girls don't act the same. Mm-hmm. Then, the kid starts speaking, insists on a boy's name. The patient was born female. Insists on a boy's name, always wants haircut short, always wants to wear boys' clothes. The kid is not logging on the internet. The kid is trans, right? Preschool and kindergarten start. We throw an absolute fit if you dress the kid in female clothes. So fine, wear male clothes. And it's a consistent daily desire. I'm not talking about someone that age 14 is going through a tough puberty and says, I don't like who I am. I'm talking about consistently every day. And then by the time kids like 7 or 8, it's been consistent and daily. So the parents get their lovely boy a therapist. And the therapist is like, yeah, this is really consistent. And the kid's happy, doing well in school, just living a masculine life, getting A's and B's, but then starts going through the puberty of the wrong gender. And puberty, I think, is stressful for anyone. But going through the puberty of a wrong gender, I would imagine really sucks. And then at that point, starts failing out of school, refuses to dress for PE because he's growing these large breasts. The family has to put newspapers on the mirrors in the bathroom because every time he gets out of the shower and sees these enormous breasts that are growing, just absolutely comes apart, is duct taping the breasts down and, all year round, and actually causing fat atrophy from how tightly this person is putting duct tape on their breasts every day, and having suicidal ideation. And so at that point, you've got a family sitting in front of you. I've got letters of recommendation from 2 mental health therapists that don't know each other saying, this surgery needs to be done. This kid is not going to make it till 18. So if you knew how to safely do an 1.5-hour surgery with minimal to no blood loss to make this person happy, and the whole reason why you went into this has nothing to do with politics, you just went in there to alleviate suffering, what are you going to do? So I talked to the hospital staff. At the time, I was the only surgeon in my practice. And I made a decision to help that patient. And I got a letter, and the patient was very thankful, did really well, no complications. I got a letter, I think like 7 or 8 years later, just the mom thanking me. I forget his first name.
Was that the kid from the Louis Theroux documentary, Transgender Kids?
I don't know. I don't think so. There's these stories are ubiquitous if you do this. Because a lot of the trans patients, their parents know at a very young age. It's not, you don't know your gender at 18. If that were the case, then at every kindergarten, when they say boys line up over here, girls line up over here, there'd be mass confusion. But they know their gender. They nail that pop quiz. Boys over here, girls over here. They get it.
Yeah, I watched that documentary this morning where you participated as well, right?
Yeah.
And it was quite eye-opening for me.
So good to circle back. Thank you. So to circle back to my first point, if you say, and now, I don't want to get arrested. So now I don't operate on anyone less than 19. I don't want to create havoc, but you're causing a lot of suffering because you're not going and seeing the patient. You're making a blanket rule. No one less than 19 can have any surgery. They have to suffer until 19. And that's not medicine. Medicine is go and see the individual patient. So that's the intersection between government and medicine. It's the opposite way to approach society or the patient.
Yeah, I was actually about to ask you how you justify changing a child's life forever and irreversibly at such an early, malleable stage, But when I watched that documentary this morning, as I said, it was eye-opening, and I can only encourage everyone. It's for free on Vimeo. I don't have many trans people in my surrounding.
Mm-hmm.
I do have homosexual friends. I actually did a podcast with a friend of mine, Franz Schuler, who's a queer actor and director in South Africa. And we talked openly about sexuality and his path and, how the struggles he went through. And I would claim, well, that's a tough one, but if I say homosexuality is more accepted in society.
I think at this point it is.
It probably is.
Yeah.
I don't want to compare them necessarily. However, I just want to make the point that, if you want to understand the parents and the kids going through a procedure like this, watch the documentary. I mean, there was this one case of this 5-year-old kid that was really, really convinced that it was a girl instead of a boy. And I could also see the struggles and challenges the parents had to go through, like the parents that participated in the documentary. It didn't seem like they were telling their kids to do this, but it was not easy for them either, because they carry the societal pressure as well.
Yeah, you can't. There's a book called As Nature Made Him. And it's a it's a terrible story about these twins that were born, I think in like Saskatchewan, Canada, someplace in Canada, where they were born on one particular day where there was a really bad snowstorm, or it was a few days later when they were going to do their circumcision. There was a really bad snowstorm. The person that was supposed to do the circumcision, that always did the circumcision, couldn't get in because of the snowstorm. So this other guy did it. And he put a metal bell over the head, wrapped the foreskin around it, which is correct, but then you use a knife to do the circ. He used cautery. And the cautery... Electrocautery. So,
oh, wow.
So in the cautery, transmitted to the bell, the metal thing around the head, and fried the whole phallus off.
Oh.
This was in the 70s. And so there was this psychiatrist, Dr. Money, is his name, that said it's a nature versus nurture argument. What he was saying is, you can take a little boy, put him in a dress every day, his whole life, tell him he's a girl, and he'll be a girl. So they said, okay, this is going to be a lot easier. You know, having a phallus is such an important, you know, anatomical structure to be male. It's going to be easier to just make this person female. They'll get along better in society. So they put a dress on this kid and said, you're a girl. And the kid was absolutely tortured his whole life and always knew something was wrong and was lied to for like 12, 13 years and acted out at school, beat up other kids, boys and girls, was pissed because he didn't have the gender identity as female and everyone he loved and trusted was telling him you're female. Then, as the book goes, he was finally told he got a sex change, he got a phallus, he married this lady, and the book ends there. But what went on was he eventually committed suicide.
Oh, wow.
So if the right thinks there's all these left parents that are saying, you're trans, they should read As Nature Made Him. It's really hard to change someone's gender identity. It's really hard.
Yeah.
So, but I want to make one point. So the diagnosis of gender incongruence is a longstanding daily diagnosis that doesn't change. So when I have, you know, the example I gave, it was persistent and longstanding and daily. So I felt pretty comfortable doing that surgery at that time. I wouldn't do that now because of the loss. I'm not going to help anyone if I'm in jail. However,
Wait, is that countrywide now?
oh yeah, no one less than 19.
When did that change?
That was an executive order signed by Trump in his first month of office. It was changed to 18, and then he upped it to 19.
Wait, Trump 1 or Trump 2? There was
Trump 2.
Yeah, it was last year, right?
Trump 2, it was an executive order raising it from 18 to 19.
Yeah.
So we don't do that anymore. But I want to add to that, if I had a 16-year-old come in my office and say, yeah, I've really felt this way for about a year, I wouldn't go and sign them up for surgery. I'd say, well, let's wait. Because the patient didn't have a 12-year history of this. They're 16 and had a 1-year history. I would wait. So medicine is great when you let doctors do the medicine. You got to trust them. And certainly there's good doctors and bad doctors. But the last thing I want to do is operate on the wrong person. We got so many patients to operate on. We're not out there like shaking the trees, trying to find members of the trans community to operate on to keep the lights on in the office. So if it's a 12-year history, then yeah, I justify ending suffrage. So if it's a 16-year-old with a 1-year history, I would not operate on that patient.
So what you're saying is you're appealing for a more differentiated, individualized examination of every case, ideally doctors and therapists in combination making a decision.
That is medicine. Otherwise, it's just the law practicing medicine. And then unless the law has an MD, why is the law practicing medicine? It's actually illegal to practice medicine without a license. So that's ironic.
Yeah. In my research, I also found some quote unquote malpractice suits.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to give you the chance to ask you what were they about and if you want to comment on them at all.
Yeah. I had a group of patients as I was leaving San Francisco say that I committed malpractice. They had complications that were listed on an informed consent that they signed. And as a group, they came after me. There was like 8. And then that was in like 2015. And then I haven't been sued since. So yeah, they can band together and trash you. And there's a lot of political reasons why that happened. But I haven't had any since. It's too bad. It's too bad.
What would you like to say to these people, if anything at all?
It is their perception that I was negligent. Negligence, I think that they should really look at the terminology. I sat in front of the California Medical Board. When you get that many lawsuits, you get examined. And I sat in front of the California Medical Board for 8 hours. We went over every detail of every case, and they said you weren't negligent. So I apologize to those patients that their surgery didn't turn out the way we had all hoped. And then I would love it if they looked at how strict the California Medical Board is at what they deem negligent. And if I passed their test, I should have passed theirs.
We touched briefly on politics. I would like to hear your thoughts on one, Kennedy's declaration that gender surgeries fail recognized standards. And
you want me to start with that?
Sure.
Okay, Kennedy is happy to go on podcasts and say that Lyme's disease is a biological weapon. He's happy to go back and forth on his stance on vaccines. He has said completely outlandish things about COVID. I think someone in his position should have had to have taken 4 credits of biology. Just 4. Let's start there. Someone in his position should be an MD. I don't know that he understands science. And he's in this position. So what standards is he referring to? Give me a list.
I don't have it, but I'm committed for round number 2 with you. I'll try to get Bobby.
Yeah, we could do a point counterpoint. He can come to the OR with me. We have excellent standards. Yeah. We operate under the same, we are a group of people that decided to dedicate 10 to 15 years of a really fun time in our lives to helping people. Go to medical school. That was tough. It was a tough program. Multiple residencies and fellowships. Everyone in my practice was an amazing resident. I probably could have been better, but then I was a great fellow, and then I was great in plastic surgery. Super skilled surgeons that really care about their patients. The last thing we're out here doing is trying to deliver some kind of substandard product for what? To trash all the training and the oath we took? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, the other political issue I wanted to ask you about was Trump's executive order about the passport gender, how should I call it? Limitation.
Yeah. I mean, it's too bad. I don't know how you can just disregard a group of people. I guess the belief is they're making it up. I don't know. I would think if you just want to say all this is being made up, you should go and sit with the trans community and listen to their stories and hear what it's like. Research it. But I would bet it's just a knee-jerk response. I don't like this, therefore I'm not going to believe in it. It's a super simplistic way to view life. If I don't like it, I don't believe in it. I don't like taxes. Should I just not believe in them?
I don't believe in them. No, seriously, dude. I haven't paid taxes in years. But that's a different discussion. It reminds me of one of the quotes I saved. One of your quotes. Nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it seem so.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting take. It is a philosophy. Nothing is bad or good, but thinking makes it seem so. When you assign a judgment to every single thing that's happening in life, you can quickly come to the conclusion that the universe is against you, but maybe just don't assign a value.
And now we're coming to the questions of all questions.
Okay.
How does the trans philosophy relate to quantum physics?
Well, everything relates to quantum physics. The answer to every question eventually is the quantum field. The whole universe came from the quantum field. Everything.
How so?
Well, moments before the Big Bang, there was just a quantum field. And a property of the quantum field is that energy will emerge from it. And so about a 10 kilogram mass of energy, 10 to the 15th Kelvin, super hot, emerged from the quantum field. And some astrophysicists believe that, sorry.
Never had that before in a podcast.
So should I answer it?
Sure.
All right.
Is that Ryan Meehan?
No, it's not Meehan. I don't know. I think I took a screenshot of it.
Yeah.
Whatever. A lot of astrophysicists believe that massive energy then underwent cosmic inflation and rapidly expanded to 10 to the 50th the size of that 10 kilogram mass of energy, creating a universe the size of our observable universe right now, which is 96 billion light years across. And the universe was just this incredibly hot field of energy. But because of E equals mc squared, energy is mass and mass is energy, separated by a constant, the speed of light squared. And so then as the universe cooled, then matter started to form. Because when it's so hot, you can't have quarks and, leptons and muons, bosons, etc. So then the universe starts cooling, and in the first 15, 20 minutes, you get Big Bang nucleosynthesis, where the nuclei of atoms starts forming. Atoms won't form for another 380,000 years, but the nuclei start forming and electrons form, and there's just free electrons running around. And there's gamma rays everywhere, super, super high frequency, short wavelength electromagnetic radiation. But then as the universe expands, those gamma waves get stretched out. They lose energy. They lose heat. More matter is created. The universe cools down to about 3,000 Kelvin. And that's when free electrons start getting bound up by nuclei because of a negative charge on the electrons, a positive charge on a nucleus. And then atoms form. And when that happens, the universe goes from opaque to translucent, because as the gamma waves are cooling down, they cool down so that they're within the visible light spectrum. And so the universe is just kind of this yellow, and it's opaque. It's just this yellow energy everywhere. And then it goes to red as the wavelength gets stretched out. And then finally, it gets stretched out to a microwave, the cosmic microwave background, which is what we have now. And that's cooled from 10 to the 15th Kelvin to 2.73 Kelvin. That's what it is right now. And all of the galaxies and galaxy clusters and solar systems that we have now were just quantum fluctuations in the first moments of the Big Bang. And the quantum fluctuations, it's just a property of the quantum field. There's a probabilistic nature of the quantum field that's very indeterminate, and there's all these fluctuations. Well, those fluctuations were fluctuations in energy, and as the energy became matter, it became dark matter, and then there were dark matter energy wells, and then there was gravity. And gravity is an attractive force that causes clumping. And so wherever, in the first few moments after the Big Bang with cosmic inflations, wherever there was high energy fluctuations, those are now current day galaxies and galaxy clusters. There was a little bit higher energy here, which creates a little bit more matter here, which created more clumping, more gravitational attraction, which then turned into galaxies and galaxy clusters. And so we're still seeing remnants of the Big Bang from 13.8 billion years ago. We're seeing cosmic microwave background everywhere you look. It was the smoking gun of the Big Bang. It's just what's left over after those gamma waves got stretched out due to expansion of the universe. And the quantum fluctuations, the tiny, at the quantum level, the tiny fluctuations in energy became solar systems, galaxies, and galaxy clusters. And so everything goes back to the quantum field. And I think our consciousness is probably in the quantum field, and our brains are antennas tapping into that.
Yeah, you said when we first met, another quote I couldn't stop thinking about was, consciousness is non-local.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Consciousness being non-local means it's not coming from the neurons in your brain.
How do you know that?
I don't. Nobody does, but it's a theory. There's really cool work by Penrose and Hameroff where they think that there are these, you have neurons, and your neurons have microtubules, and your microtubules have these benzing rings that form a dipole coherence where they're oscillating back and forth at like a terahertz frequency. And that allows you to tap into a non-local consciousness that's coming from the quantum field. And people use that to explain remote viewing, ESP, just feelings of deja vu, gut feelings. You're tapping into a quantum field where there's a proto-consciousness, like a universal consciousness.
So that means that we are all on a very fundamental or very meta level connected to each other, like a mycelium network.
There's only one of us. And that's why we should be really, really concerned with human suffering, because there's only one of us.
Yeah, you told me you've been to Auschwitz last week in
Yeah.
Poland.
Yeah,
and
I went to Auschwitz.
I've named my podcast after Man's Search for Meaning, right? Viktor Frankl's work. Have you read the book?
Mm-mm.
Oh, dude. You should have read it before going to Auschwitz. Have you heard of Viktor Frankl?
No.
So he was a Jewish psychiatrist who survived the death camps, and the book he wrote after that, kind of like a memoir, kind of like a autobiography, kind of like a war report. He named it Man's Search for Meaning because what he found out during the years in the death camps was that it was not the people who were physically the strongest that survived in the death camps, but the ones who had some kind of meaning.
Right.
That the people who, whether it was realistic or unrealistic, but believed that they would see their loved ones again once this horror would end, or the ones that still had some kind of hope, or enjoyed watching the sunset or sunrise in midst of all the cruelty they were experiencing, right? And from that experience, he developed what's nowadays known as logotherapy, a form of therapy that helps finding patients meaning and suffering.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's meaning in suffering for sure.
How so?
Well, your pain is your biggest teacher, right? So you're taught you should sit in the pain and figure out what it's trying to teach you.
What's your experience with that?
Of sitting in pain?
Yeah.
Well, I think it depends on what your pain is coming from, It's a good opportunity to look at yourself and say, all of this is my fault.
But you seem like speaking from experience. Like, are there any specific chapters in your life?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's always pain. Yeah. You know, a surgery doesn't go the way you want. A bunch of patients sue you. Sit in the pain. What could you have done differently? You know, a relationship doesn't go the way you want. Sit in the pain, you know. I sit on this podcast and I say that Kennedy should have taken more biology, and then all of a sudden I get in a bunch of trouble from the government. You know, I don't know. Sit in the pain. I should have not said that. I don't know. You know, there's constant pain. Yeah.
You seem to take it quite lightly.
Well, you know, I don't want to act godlike.
I'll take it.
Keep it light, right? Yeah.
Okay, so circling back, how do you know all this shit about consciousness and the Big Bang and all that stuff?
Oh, I really enjoy reading about it. I read about it, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 days a week. It's cool. It's really important I think it's a basic human desire to question, why are we here? You know, where did we come from? Why are we here? And where are we going? And you can answer that question through philosophy, religion,
psychedelics.
Yeah, psychedelics. I think for me, you know, is very subjective, but the best way for me to answer that question is through science and astrophysics. You know, it's the best origin story ever. Everyone loves a good origin story. You know, is it Adam and Eve? Is it, you know, Jesus died for your sins 2,000 years ago? For me, a few thousand years and a few thousand religions all saying something different is too narrow for me. I want to start 13.8 billion years ago. That's a good origin story. Where there's science everywhere. Where, like, making it absolutely irrefutable. The evidence is everywhere you look. With the expansion of the universe, the cosmic microwave background, the Big Bang nucleosynthesis, it all points to the same origin. And it doesn't matter what ethnicity, what culture, what gender you are, the science is the same. And that's the beauty of science. It's real whether you believe in it or not.
What do you believe in?
Science. I believe that the hydrogen in your body was created 13.8 billion years ago. And that the oxygen, the carbon, and nitrogen was created about 4.5 billion years ago. And that the atoms in your body are just on this really short, inconsequential stop in your body before they get reconstituted and reused on this billions of year cycle. And I just think that's super interesting. You know, this is just a short stop. And so you've got this one really transient stop for the atoms in your body, and you can choose to make it really interesting for them. Or you can do what you want with it, and then they're going to continue on. But I believe that these atoms are part of a larger proto-consciousness, and I would love for the atoms to collectively look back and, you know, the Curtis Crane repurposing years, those were some good ones when compared to the fungus, yeast, and pterodactyl and whatever shit I used to be. You know, I want to be held in a high regard.
So there was a past life of Curtis Crane, you're saying, in some form of fungus, dinosaur, or yeast.
Well, it's not even controversial. The atoms in your body have been around for that long. Yeah. And so, yeah, they were something else. And they weren't all together. This is the first time they've all come together, and hopefully they're getting along, you know? Yeah, they were something else. And so wouldn't it be cool to know, you know?
Okay. Another quote of yours I kept contemplating about the last few weeks was about space-time.
Space-time.
The way we view time is an illegitimate extrapolation of a parochial experience.
Yeah, that is a quote out of Carlos Ravelli's book, Reality is Not What It Seems.
How so?
Well, we think that the way he explains it in the book, that there's this like central conductor of an orchestra, like just keeping time on track everywhere in the universe. Time isn't that way at all. I view time, I came up with this analogy myself. Time is more like temperature, where like if you're standing on the earth and the temperature is one thing, if you go 50 feet in the air, the temperature is something else. That's the way time is. And you can take a really sensitive atomic clock and put it on the ground, and it will tell you time is one thing. But then if you have another clock 10 meters up, there is a subtle difference in how fast time is moving. It'll be moving a little bit faster, 10 meters up and 10 meters up and 10 meters up. And so we think that time is the same everywhere, but time depends on how close you are to a large body, because gravity warps space-time and slows down time. And the farther you get away from Earth, the faster time moves. General relativity says everything is relative to something else. That's the general relativity. So the faster you're going, the slower time moves. If you're going the speed of light, time doesn't move at all.
That's what they showed in Interstellar.
Yeah. Right. Interstellar is really accurate. There was a professor of astrophysics named Kip Thorne that consulted for that. And that's probably what a black hole looks like. And that's what happens to space-time. And so these are more fringes. You know, the black holes are the fringes of the universe. And they're the two standard deviations away.
What do you mean by that? The black holes are
the fringes of the universe. Well, it's like you've got Earth, and that's, you know, pretty standard for our existence. And then there's other planets, you know, maybe those are, you know, when you consider the Gaussian distribution of the universe, those are, you know, they have gravity and they're big masses, and some have atmospheres and some don't. That's fine. But then, like, what happens when a star 20 solar masses bigger than our star runs out of its thermonuclear fuel? It's constantly fusing for hydrogen to become a helium, and that gives off energy. And then the helium fuses to be lithium, and you're making heavier and heavier elements, and you're giving off this energy. And giving off that heat energy is resisting the enormous pinching to gravitational collapse, to the star collapsing in on itself. But then when the fuel runs out, then there's just a gravitational collapse force, and there's nothing resisting that. And if it's 20 times the mass of our sun's too small, but if it's 20 times the mass, then as the collapse starts occurring, there's nothing to sort of slow down the collapse. It's this positive feedback loop where it keeps collapsing and collapsing until everything gets sucked into this singularity, which is, it's not a location in the black hole necessarily, because the gravity is almost infinite, the gravitational pull at this singularity. So space and time can like theoretically swap. And so it's
what the fuck?
it's a tremendous warping of space-time. And so at that point, everything gets sucked in, even light, which is massless. And so everything's getting sucked into this singularity, which I guess you could picture as the center of the black hole, but in reality, because space and time swap, it's a point in time, it's a moment in the black hole. But because gravity is so intense, it's so high, we said 5 minutes ago that the closer you are to an object warping gravity, the closer we are to Earth, the slower time moves. And then as you go higher and higher, time moves faster and faster. Well, extrapolate that in your mind to infinite gravitational pull. Time stops. So the center of a black hole, it's not a location in the black hole. It's a moment in time. It's a moment that will last forever, because the space-time continuum is so warped.
So are you saying we come from singularity and we eventually will go there again?
We come from the cosmos. The cosmos is something from which we never separate. We arise from the quantum field. We exist in the quantum field, and we will return to the quantum field. The singularity, you could say that the Big Bang was a singularity that then blew out. So yeah, in that sense, we came from a singularity. But then black holes, you know, they're a super large collapsing star that suck everything in that gets within their gravitational field. And I would call that one of the fringes of the universe. It's a really interesting thing where the equations of general relativity break down. You know, it's not completely known or understood, but matter gets torn apart. Quarks, you know, atoms get torn apart. Then protons and neutrons, you know, just disseminate into quarks. The quarks get torn apart. There's just this soup. Entropy skyrockets. The majority of the entropy in the universe is in black holes. And yeah, it's a big open apple control delete.
How fascinating is that? Is it that quantum physics relate or overlap with, you know, humanity's religions like Christianity and Tantra?
Yeah.
You know?
There's a lot of overlap, which is cool. It means we're probably on the right track. And probably the religions are on the right track. It's just like
all along, yeah.
Yeah, do you want to use science or do you want to use have this faith because that's like the most divine gift you could give, is just having faith with no proof.
What do you think? What's your standpoint as of right now? Where's this going to go? Like, how long is the Earth as we know it going to exist?
Oh, well, we know that. It all is based on the sun. It's pretty important for the Earth. And the sun is halfway through its life cycle. It's got another 4.5 billion years to go. And it's going to run out of its thermonuclear fuel. Truly, nothing lasts forever. Black holes don't last forever. They last like 100 billion years or so. So they're around for a while. But because of Hawking radiation, they eventually disappear. But the sun will run out of thermonuclear fuel. It will start swelling and become a red giant. It will swallow up Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. And then and that will be the end of Earth. And then it will kind of contract down into a white dwarf and just be a cold, lonely existence.
So humanity will just burn to death at some point?
If we don't get off the planet. But by then we will be a interplanetary species if we're still here.
Do you have any takes on the current alien reports?
I believe in aliens. I think it's crazy to think that in a 96 billion light year across the universe, that there wasn't some kind of species that evolved just 10,000 years before us. We're talking on the scale, Earth has been around 4.5 billion years, and that's been in the later third of the existence of the solar system. All it would take is some species somewhere to evolve at the same rate we did. We're not exceptionally gifted. We're not exceptionally stupid. Just evolve at the same rate we did. Imagine where we'll be in 10,000 years. Like the Industrial Revolution was a little more than 100 years ago. And the Wright brothers and the invention of cars. And look at what we got now, 100 years later, right? So imagine where we'll be in 10,000 years. And imagine if someone else had a 10,000 year jump on us. Then they sure as shit would be here just seeing what we're up to. We would be on their front door. Yeah. So they're here. And I love the movie Age of Disclosure, and there's going to be
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, it's good. And there's going to be more disclosure, and I can understand why the government wouldn't want to necessarily just release that all of a sudden, because it can really rock the pillars of religion. You know, especially in Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, there's not a subchapter on aliens. You know, there is a direct human to God relationship that's started within the last few thousand years. And there's not room for an alien civilization that's 10,000 years in front of us.
What's something you wrestle with at the moment? Like any new discoveries, learnings in terms of in the field of quantum physics?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's fucked. Like, no one understands it. The PhDs, you know, and disclaimer, I'm not a professor in this. It's not my career. I just like to read about it. And I chat with ChatGPT when I'm alone at night, you know, asking questions. So if I said something wrong, don't email or text me. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll learn more and be better next time.
You can discuss in the YouTube comment section.
Yeah. No, I'm just an amateur at this. But no, it's crazy. The professors, people that have studied this enough to earn a PhD, don't understand it. It's fascinating. It's just an indeterministic, probabilistic set of assumptions whereby if you set up the same experiment each time with the exact same conditions, you will not get the same answer, which is very different from Newtonian physics. Newtonian physics says that the state of a system is determined by the behavior of its parts. Mm-hmm. And if you always plug in the same numbers in the same equation, you'll get the same answer given the same conditions. The quantum potential is that the behavior is created by the whole, and that the subatomic particles they're not independent from each other. They're part of an indivisible system that's all choreographed, and the whole dictates the primary reality and the behavior of the subatomic particles. And you have things like the double slit lamp experiment, where if there is an observer, you will get a different answer than if there is not an observer. And there's a collapse of the quantum state when there is an observer. But there's this quantum potential that exists where when you're not looking, there's a quantum wave that represents every possible answer. And so all the answers are in front of you, the answers to everything. But the moment you look, there'll be a collapse of the whole quantum wave function, and then there'll only be one answer.
What?
Yeah.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to grasp, like for our human brains.
It's impossible to grasp. Yeah. And so all these quantum fluctuations, which, by the way, eventually gave rise to our solar system's galaxies and galaxy clusters, these little quantum fluctuations that created the universe as we see it, they have a tendency to average out, so that in the macroscopic world that we live in, Newtonian physics works. At the quantum scale, everything is indeterminate and probabilistic, but all of those fluctuations average out to make a deterministic reality. And that is what it is, whether you like it or not.
What's the purpose? What's the meaning behind all of this, would you say?
The meaning is to live an exceptional life, whatever that is for you. You can go out and climb mountains and listen to music and, you know, learn things and read, and life is going to be long and hard and tiring. But you've got this one moment in billions of years where all these atoms in your body are going to come together. And so you better make it good for them, or they're going to look back and go, whoa, that one sucked. Sure, I'm glad we were able to be yeast after that little stop. You know, how embarrassing would that be?
Which brings me to one of my favorite final questions. Based on my podcast's name and Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. What makes life meaningful for you?
Learning and experience. I think, well, there's two things. I shouldn't just blurt out learning. Learning is a big part of my life. I think it's really cool.
Well, I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun. While you're here, like, learn something. And then connection. Like, the surest path to transcendence is connection. And so learn and connect with the people around you and learn from them and teach them. And as much as you can, try to eliminate suffering, because there's only one of us.
How would you put that into a CTA for humanity, a call to action? Because I realized, when I started this podcast, I talk with very inspiring people and some crazy geniuses. And we talk for like 2-3 hours, But I also want to give the people listening a specific, call to action. Something they can take away from a conversation like this and act on it out in the world.
Oh, meow. A call to action. I think everyone should open their windows and scream supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. A call to action. I think, what's your call to action? Like, leave it a better place than when you found it. I think give a gift, if you just give a gift, every interaction you have each day, that's a really simple call to action that everyone can do. Every interaction you have today, give a gift. Just leave someone a little bit happier, a little bit happier that they ran into you. Call to action, like end world suffering and, that would be a good one. And famine, war.
What would you say what would be your message to the trans movement and or people that are in opposition to it?
Man, come together. Like, if you're opposed to the trans community, I think you should go and find someone in the trans community and just be like, hey, what does this mean to you? Just listen. Find a common denominator. Find a common ground. And just listen and see what it's like. It's hard. It's impossible for anyone that's not trans to understand what the trans community is going through. I have taken care of more than 10,000 trans patients, and I have no idea what it's like to be trans. But I'm happy to listen. And the stories I've listened to, it's absolutely real. And that deserves an ear. And the only other option is you just say, this is something my political ideology or religious views won't tolerate, therefore it doesn't exist. Or therefore all these people are crazy. And that's just such a bullshit way to live your life, I think. Like, seek out discomfort and read about it. That's the only way to broaden your horizons. I think we're supposed to seek out discomfort while here, or else you really don't learn anything,
Amen.
Yeah.
Beautiful words, dude. No, seriously. Like, I really appreciate you doing this. And I mean, even outside of this podcast studio, outside of this conversation, the work you're doing is, you're helping people, you're transforming people's lives on a very fundamental level.
Oh, thank you.
And who knows how they would go through life without, having this opportunity of becoming who they really are.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, everyone deserves that chance. Be who you were meant to be.
I got one last special question.
Okay.
Submitted by a mutual friend of ours.
Did this come in while we were on the podcast? Is this live?
I promise no names and no background information, so they can't be traced back.
Okay.
And canceled from the next house party.
Okay.
No, I'm supposed to ask you about the 3D figurine here you had created of yourself and your buddy Logan in Las Vegas, where you're standing in an interesting pose. What's the story about that?
Did I answer? Yeah. Well, do you want me to tell the story?
Please, if you're open to share.
Sure. So
we can put that on behind a paywall.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you find yourself walking around an exhibit with your friend, and they at this exhibit, they have one of these as though it's common. They have a trailer where you can get in there and you pay like, I don't know, a few $100, and you can get there with your friend, and like 1,000 cameras shoot all at once. And then they have every detail of your body that you've never known about. And then a few weeks later, they send you like a little statue, a little figurine of you and your friend. So we're like, okay. I'm like, let's commemorate this trip. Let's go get a figurine made. And they have some examples there, and they're really good. Like, it's impressive. It's very detailed. And so my friend says, well, what do you want to do? And I said, why don't you get on my shoulders and you can like take your shirt off? And he's like, why don't we get totally naked and bend over? And I'm like, oh man. I can't
seek discomfort, right?
Yeah, seek discomfort. And I'm like, I can't say no. Like, I'm encouraging this guy to do this thing that I kind of left that out. Originally, he thought was kind of stupid and didn't want to do. And then he just trumped me, right? The ace is trumped.
Oh, really?
He's like, oh, you want to go and get figurines? Well, here's my line. And it's like miles away from my line, right? I'm miles more conservative. And he's like, well, if you want to do that, here's my line. And so, of course, I look at him, I'm like, let's fucking go. So we get in there. I feel really badly. There's like 2 kids in there. They must have been early 20s. And I look at them and I'm like, I bet you've seen a lot of shit in here. And they're like, oh yeah, we've seen it all. And I'm like, watch this. And they're like, yeah, ready to go when you are. And I look at my friend and I'm like, okay. So he just like drops his shorts, takes off his shirt. I do the same thing. He just immediately bends over facing the front wall. I decide, at this point, you just go with the quantum field. You go with your gut. I decide I should put one foot on his back and face the exact opposite direction and make a pose kind of like the thinker. Yeah. So, like Rodin, the sculptor, he made the thinker. If Rodin were still alive, I think he'd be proud. That's speculative.
Just for the audience, the guy checking the audio, he's laughing his ass off over there.
Well, I'll get you a copy of a figurine of me and Logan naked, him bent over on all fours, me with my foot on his back as the thinker posing the opposite direction. And then all of a sudden, the kids let out a yell. All the lights go off. It's all over. We put our clothes back on. They're like, all right, well, our work here is done. And so we leave. And then the story doesn't even end there because we're supposed to get these figurines in. It's like 2 months later and a box shows up. And so I FaceTime my friend and his wife. I'm like, our figurine showed up. And I show them with FaceTime the address. And it's my address, but it's someone else's name. And I'm just so excited to open it. I don't care that it's someone else's name. It's my address. His wife, who's the most intelligent out of all of us, says, why is it someone else's name? And I'm like, well, I don't know, Paige. I don't think we should worry about that. Those little details, like people's names. But she knew. I opened it up, and it was someone else's figurine.
Oh, you're joking.
And it didn't take long for me to go, oh, well, we just got someone else's, but that means someone else got ours.
Seriously?
Yeah. And we're like, oh, that's too bad. I feel really badly for this poor lady.
But have you ever gotten your figurine?
Well, so we tried to contact her. We it was real CSI shit. My friend's wife figured out where she lives, who she is.
So they just swapped the figurine?
Yes. They accidentally mailed her to us.
What are the odds?
What are the odds?
Like your guy's figurine.
Yeah. So, never miss an opportunity for a prank. So I get on her OnlyFans.
This story is getting wilder and wilder.
This is our life. So she's an OnlyFans person. It's good. And so I email her and I say, hey, I'm sorry to bother you. I think that you've got me and my lover's figurines, and that's supposed to go on top of our wedding cake in a few weeks. So I would really appreciate it if you could overnight it to us. I have yours. Happy to trade. No response. So then my friend gets on her OnlyFans, pays like $50 so that the email goes to the top and says, hey, I think you got me and my friend's figurine. Would be great if you could ship that back. But then her bot or manager or whatever writes back, do you think your figurine could handle this body or something like that? And we're like, we're not role playing. You really have something of ours.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So then it turns into a months long endeavor where we eventually get a hold of the print 3D whatever people, and they send us two and for our efforts. And so then it became my friend Logan built this beautiful chroma cove, he called it, this art for Burning Man. And it's this just massive, I don't know, 15 to 20 foot LED thing, all these different colors. It's on this 2.5 foot tall, wooden box stage that's I don't know, 10 feet by 10 feet, 2.5 feet tall. And he's so creative. He drills a hole in the bottom of it, just a tiny peephole, a little bit bigger than a quarter. And he hangs the figurine from a slowly twirling disco ball thing and puts a spotlight on it. And so then that whole Burning Man, we would drive up to the Chroma Cove and there'd be all these people looking at it. And we'd say to people, just random people, do you know the dark secret of the Chroma Cove? And they're like, what? And I'm like, shut your eyes and think of your wildest dreams. Think of the thing that's beyond your imagination. Think of the thing that you think could never happen to you, but that you've always wanted to happen to you. And get on all fours and bend over and look in that tiny hole a foot off the ground. And the Chroma Cove will show you your deepest desires. And it just so happened about the third person I said this to was this gay dude. And so he bends over and he looks in there and he's like, yeah, that's about right.
Oh, dude.
So, in summary, never miss an opportunity to give a gift.
Oh, that's the CTA. Oh, dude, that was one of the funniest and realest podcasts I've ever done. Dude, you're a fucking character.
It's just living life. We're not even trying to do anything.
I appreciate you. I just appreciate you.
Well, thank you, Jan. I appreciate you, man. It's fun.
How can people get in touch with you, if at all, if you want to get them get in touch with you?
I mean, if you hate me or if you're Kennedy, sorry, please don't get in touch. If you're someone that likes me, my Yahoo email is cnc51924@yahoo.com. That's my favorite number, 51924.
Nobody has ever revealed their email address.
Oh, was I not supposed to do that?
No, you can. I mean,
shit. When you ask other people, how do they get a hold of you? What do they say?
Their website or their Instagram, I guess.
Oh, fuck. All right.
We can censor that.
I don't care.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Dr. Curtis Crane, the living legend. Appreciate you, dude.
Hey, thank you, bro.
That was legendary.
That was fun.